Welcome back to the Full View. Now, ArcelorMittal South Africa is proceeding with plans to shut down its steel plants in Vereeniging and Saldanha, despite government talks of a possible R1 billion bailout. Now, this move will result in substantial job losses, affecting approximately 1,000 employees at the Vereeniging plant. And for more reaction, let's now welcome Jaco Verwey, who is the president of the Golden Triangle Chamber of Commerce. Jaco, great to have you with us. Good evening, although not on such good news, right? The announcement of that dreaded shutdown by ArcelorMittal going through. What is your reaction to the impending job cuts, as well as the overall impact that this move will actually have on the sector?
Yeah, thank you very much. It's definitely going to be a massive impact. I think a bigger part of the impact will be in Newcastle and not in the Vaal Triangle. You must remember, Vereeniging works, the long steel works is only a smaller part of the Vaal Triangle works of Mittal, where Van der Bijl is the major one. So the impact will be there. We're waiting to get confirmation of the exact numbers of the 3,500 jobs they spoke about for the Vaal Triangle. I had a few phone calls today with a few companies and parties to this to get the final count. There will definitely be an impact. Unfortunately for us, and this just after a festive season, but we should also remember these talks started about a year ago, and for the past year, Mittal's management team did their utmost best to work with government and see what they could do to rescue the process. But unfortunately, like you said, it's going to happen, and already happened, and now we're waiting. I think the Article 189s are going out in this week, and they're starting to process it from, I think, the 7th of February, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it's saying here the 6th of February, that downsizing process is set to begin, Jaco. But also to note, Jaco, I mean, the fact that the 3,500 jobs are actually the direct employment, we are looking at over potentially 20,000 overall. And this should then compel government to really look at various ways at attracting as well as sustaining businesses, especially on key as well as critical sectors like your steel sector.
Definitely, you're 100% right. So the 3,500 direct jobs here and in Newcastle will make a direct impact. But your indirect jobs also makes an impact. I mean, there's a lot of small businesses, for example, engineering businesses that works for the Mittals in South Africa and for the larger industries. Let's talk about large industries as a whole, not only Mittal. And that's in different various spheres of business as well. And that impact, they can't really quantify at the moment. I mean, at the end of the day, if a small business works for Mittal in the Vaal Triangle, they will still keep their work for the Van der Bijl plants, but of course lose the amount of work they got from the Vereeniging plants. And as I said in previous interviews, is that the direct jobs plays a big role, and those guys will hopefully, and I said hopefully, be looked after by the process of law. But your indirect job, nobody looks after that small business. And as soon as large business, large industries struggle, automatically your small and medium industries struggle, and then your man on the street struggle. Your expenditure that's in your pocket gets less and less because those people will lose their jobs as well. All of us are waiting to see what's happening, what the final numbers is. But you're also touching on a very, very true thing, is that government must intervene. We thought about the different aspects towards the closure of Mittal Vereeniging. And one of them, and I probably think is the biggest one, is that for the last year, although Mittal tried their utmost best to work with government, the intervention from government isn't strong enough at the moment to protect our large industries. Government must go to the policymakers and say, listen, we must put policies in place to protect large industries. By the steel industry, the textile industry, all the industries that's directly and indirectly touched by imports and exports. And if government doesn't do that, then there will not be job security. But that is only one of the parts or one of the reasons for the decisions made by Mittal. But that's one of the reasons or the point where government can intervene and say, let's help, let's stand together, let's secure jobs for large industry. Let's make business easier for them, and that will automatically spill over to small and medium industries and help the man on the street.
Absolutely. I mean, you're talking about these discussions and negotiations and interventions, Jaco, having started about a year ago. I mean, we understand that it certainly looks like the issues that were raised by the group about the international competition as well as demand could then really not convince them otherwise. So it looks like government came in too late to try and assist in this regard.
Yeah, and that's the problem. I mean, now everybody is hearing about the 1 billion rand bailouts. And from a Chamber's point of view, if you look at government bailouts and you look at SAL and you look at Eskom, and where does a bailout help industry? I mean, the old saying is you just kick the bucket down the road. So somewhere along the line it's going to happen anyway. The bailout isn't the answer, and that's anyway too late for a bailout. The problem is, like you said, a year ago, the talks was on the table. Mittal went into government and said, please help us. If you look at the figures, that's not exact figures, but the imports especially from China is killing large industries and killing the steel industry.
Absolutely.
And add to that the fact that those importers also import to other countries. So all of a sudden, our export market is also getting smaller and smaller. And if government doesn't stand up and say, listen, we're going to put taxes, for example, on imports, there's a minimum that must be required, et cetera, then they're not reaching their hand out to protect. And I think personally it's too late for them to say, listen, now we want to bail you out. The bailout, like I said, is kicking the bucket down the road.
Very quickly, Jaco, I mean, what other possible solutions, if any, besides that proposed bailout that we've just made reference to, could ArcelorMittal explore at this point? I mean, is there any way to maybe reconsolidate or collaborate with other game players in the very same sector just for the sustainability of jobs, job security in this regard?
Yeah. I think there's various options, but I think most of those options went through back and forth by Mittal for the last year. This could not have been an easy decision for them. But all the factors, the fact that there's a lack of support and a lack of basic services in our area, in the Infuleni area, the cost of business, for example, the fact that they're paying way too much for electricity, the fact that they don't have water security, et cetera, et cetera. These factors plays a role to the decision. And I'm pretty sure somewhere along the line, someone is going to come into this market and say, there's a gap in the market now, and we can fill this gap. But Mittal will most probably try to fill this gap through some of his other plants, but some of the technology they use there is only available at Mittal Vereeniging and Longworks. And if someone doesn't step into that, what we're creating by this is just more imports. So if Mittal Vereeniging can't do what they do, and no one steps into that position saying we will fill that void, all of the jobs and all of the steel that they manufactured will yet again be imported. So now, instead of putting policies in place to keep the importers intact, we're actually enabling them to do more imports.
Wow. And look at that spiral. Jaco, thank you so much for your input this evening. That is Mr. Jaco Verwey there. He's the president of this GTCOC. They're reacting to the move to go ahead with its closures. That is ArcelorMittal going ahead with its closures at Vereeniging as well as its Saldanha plants.